Hello, hello, hello. So it's Thursday again, and so I have a Thursday update for you guys. So today, well, actually, I'll just start with this week. This week, and I really hope you can hear me over the cars, was Valentine's Day, and my coordinator. So the school I work for is a bilingual school, and the person who's over us assistants or like English teachers or native English speakers, no, actually, I don't think you exactly have to just be native, because I said that we have a person here from the Philippines and from India, so you don't have to just be native English speaker. Anyway, the coordinator of us is really into American or, I guess holidays from the U.S., like doing things for that to show them the aspect of our culture, which is cool. It's kind of weird sometimes because I'm like, why should they care? But apparently Valentine's Day is not exactly American, or so some random holidays that, like, Thanksgiving is huge in the States. It's big. And when Thanksgiving comes around, it's like weird that it's not everywhere. Like the feeling. Like, I understand, especially what Thanksgiving celebrates, it's not exactly something that would be everywhere. But Valentine's Day seems like some random holiday that, we dress in red and pink because that matches. Anyway, where we show love and la la la. It's cool. I like it. I like it's cool. But it seems like, y'all can forget about it elsewhere. And I'm like, oh, this you celebrate. That's something important to you. Oh, okay. Cool. We can all love each other. That's cool. Anyway, so what we did was we passed out flowers. So we had them, the school itself had a fundraiser where you could buy a flower. Truck just had to make all the noise, huh? Anyway, you could buy a flower and give it to, someone you care about. So you could buy a flower and it came with a note, and you would send the note to someone you care about. So that's what we did. We sold the flowers, and man, they're flying. Sold the flowers, and on Monday, we sold the flowers like 2 weeks beforehand. And on Monday, people were able to buy the flowers 2 weeks beforehand. And then on Monday, we passed the flowers out. It was great. So, we went to different, classrooms, and the teachers went in on this. The teachers buy flowers galore. Some teachers got 18 flowers. It was so sweet. I was just like, I love it. People just writing notes telling people why they love them, and they didn't hold back. Some of these, as we were passing them out, I was like, oh, that's what you had to say. Oh no, okay. Yeah, so they were not holding back. It was really hilarious and really sweet at the same time. And then the little kids passing notes. This one kid was like, from your B. Oh, it was funny. I got to see like one of my favorite students got a flower, and they sit on the side of the classroom, and they look like they're over this school. They're over every day. They're sitting there and they're over, and they're in 8th grade, or 12 or 13, probably 12. Anyway, sitting in the corner over it, but their name was called, and when their name was called, their eyes just lit up. I was like, oh, it was so sweet. It was so sweet. I could have cried. Anyway, their eyes lit up. They smelled the flower. It was it brought them back to their body, because they take off every time they have to come to school. Mentally, they take off. Anyway, that was sweet. So that was Valentine's Day. And then today, I told you guys I have a difficult class on Thursdays. So this Thursday, I was like, no more. No more. No more of this. I refuse. So I was like, you know what, Tori, you got a plan. I know you could do impromptu stuff, but you got a plan. Because what happens is, I'm like, I don't know, I put off the planning. Also, I'm like, what can I really do that will get their attention? And then I'm like, forget it. And then I'm like, actually, Tori, you have to have a plan. And then I come up with the plan while I'm there, or like soon before I get there. And then I try to execute the plan. It doesn't go that well. Well, in other classes that actually kind of works. This class is not. It doesn't. So what I did was I looked up I took a whole class before I got here, it's called TEFL, Teaching English as a Foreign Language Certification. So I took that class, I got that certification. And that was supposed to help me plan my lessons. So I did that, and I don't exactly execute all the things that they showed me. But one of the things that they said would be crucial is to identify what level of English your students were on. And that's one of the things that I knew would probably be the hardest thing for me to do, is to identify the level of English that my students were on. Because they were like A2. So there's what do you call it? There's a system out there, like when it comes to learning languages, or like being deemed like, oh, you know a certain amount of language. Like on the books, there is a system. So like you'll be A1, A2, A B1, B2, C1, C2, and I don't know what comes after that. But if you speak C2 of a language, you have to test for this. You study, you take the test, and you are now on the level of C2. And so our students, they have to take tests saying that they can speak and read and write at a C2 level, or not C2, like a B1. I'm not sure what their exact requirement is, but I know they have a requirement when it comes to being able to speak English. And this is what they put on the resume. So it's really important for them to know. Hang on. So yeah, it really has an impact. Their level of English and what they can test for really has an impact on like what jobs they will get and whatnot. So, but figuring that out, because they were like, some of your students could have an A1, some of your students could have an AB, or not AB, a B1. So yes, you can have some students that have an A1, you can have some students that have B1, all in the same classroom. Because if they didn't start school in the same place and they weren't raised in the same place, like school-wise, then they might have learned more in another school than come here and moved here, or they didn't learn a lot and they moved here. So you have different levels in the classroom. And I was like, how am I supposed to figure that out? But after like 5 months, I'm like, oh, okay, I can kind of see now. I don't exactly know now how I would tell someone you could figure it out. I feel like you would have to be very intentional in the first month of watching how your students would react, but you have to pick a student. But like if you have like 7 classes, it's still challenging, very challenging to figure out. I don't even know all their names, like let alone what level of English they speak. Like it's really like a little overwhelming. I'm like, oh my God, I want to help you all. I mean, I feel like teachers in the States probably like have experienced stuff like this with just what level. I mean, it's just like teachers in the States. Like their students are not learning English, but yeah, they're learning how to read and write. Some people are 12th graders and don't know how to read at the same level as some of the 4th graders. Like, anyway. So in this class, I realized, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just start at A2. Ain't nobody above a B2 in this class. I'm gonna work like we're in A2, maybe even A1. Okay, so then I looked up some YouTube videos on like lessons and how to approach A1 students, and I'm watching this guy and he was like showing pictures and he was like repeating the same word, like, okay, what is this? Summer. So they're saying summer, and they like, what is this? Fall, and they say fall, and so on. So I was like, oh, like that. Okay, got you. So we were reading this book called All About Scotland, and it's like a textbook, but like as textbook goes, if I was teaching this to 7th graders, I feel like they would get it. It was interesting. I feel like it's interesting enough, but if you don't know the language that well, it doesn't work, because the chapters are pretty good. Like, they're talking about Scotland. They talked about William Wallace, who apparently is what Braveheart was like. The movie Braveheart with Mel Gibson, that's his character. That's the role he's playing. Anyway, so they hit how Scotland started. They hit Braveheart guy, William Wallace. And then they went on to Mary of the Scots. I'm like, dang, these people are not faring well. Just for the record, those two people did not fare too well. Anyway, so I was like, okay, we're reading this story. Some of them got it. The last class I told you, I read it, or I told about it, and then I had other kids translate as I was saying it. It didn't go so smoothly, so I was like, new plan. So what I did was I made a PowerPoint of pictures, like, so I had a picture of William Wallace. I had a picture of Scotland. I was like, y'all, this is Scotland. I was like, what is it? What is this? They were like, Scotland. I was like, great, we're talking about Scotland. And then I had a picture of William Wallace. Who is this? William Wallace. Okay, cool. Then I had a picture of King Edward. Who is this? King Edward. What was he trying to do? Conquer Scotland. Was Wallace with that? I didn't say it just like that, but it takes effort not to use my vernacular. So I was like, was Wallace in agreement? Did he like that? They're like, no, he wanted to stop. And I'm like, great. So I just had to do that. So I'm telling stories like, basically I took this chapter book and I am making it like a picture book. Yes. So I'm making it a picture book. So I made it like, and guys, it worked. They were following the story. Like, they were really following the story. I was so thrilled. So, yes, it worked, right? I was like, oh, you guys are paying attention. You guys know what I'm saying. You're repeating me. I was thrilled. And it was really good that went well, because earlier that day, I like almost had a breakdown. I was like, this close to the edge. So when it comes to learning Spanish, hang on. So when it comes to learning Spanish, like, I moved to Spain because I wanted to push myself to learn Spanish. But then the actual being pushed is uncomfortable and annoying. So I'm here, right? And I'm trying to teach these students, and I don't really know their language. And while I'm learning, I'm like trying to do it at my pace. I still am not there yet. And so that can be difficult. So I get to school today, and the class that I normally have first, instead of like taking the students aside like I normally do, in this class, I have to do a whole lesson. And I didn't remember that I like had talked to the teacher like the week before about doing the lesson, the outline lesson. So I created a lesson to help teach outlines. I said I would do that. Hang on. So I said I would do that lesson. Like, he asked me to do the lesson. I was like, okay, cool. But that lesson I created for a different class at a totally different level of English. And so then when I got to class and he was like, yeah, this is what we're doing, I was like, oh, like I hadn't planned for that. I had been planning for my other 2 classes. So I did the lesson, but the lesson, like, I hadn't had it adapted to their level of English. So it involved them, and they're like, "Can I sit down now?" I'm like, no, you can't sit down. Like, and like, it took real effort to keep pushing myself to like teach this lesson, because I'm like, the way my body reacts, or I react when I'm like, if people are not listening to me, why should I talk? Like, I'm putting forth effort and energy to be bubbly and I'm putting forth effort and energy to like be bubbly and like try to be entertaining for you all, and you don't want to do this, you don't want to be here, I don't want to be here either. I'm done. Like, not that I don't want to be here, but like, I don't want to be in this situation where I'm trying to talk to someone who doesn't want to hear me out, or who's not like trying to participate. So like, my mind is really like, forget it. So I literally so I sat down and I'm talking to like some of the students, like I'm leading out the class. Like, mind you, I'm moving all over the class, and I have students standing up over here, students standing up there. I'm recruiting new students to like, it's a whole thing. Okay, I'm off the metro. I tried to record while I was on the metro, and every other minute I was like, oh my God, can they hear me? I don't know if they can hear me. Anyway, off the metro now. So yeah, can't even remember what the last thing I was saying, but I know my last point. I moved here to teach myself, to put myself in a position where I would have to learn the language. But forcing yourself it's working. Like, I'm pushing myself to have to learn language, but it's uncomfortable, right? So, for instance, being in class and like teaching these students and not feeling like I'm getting to them, or not feeling like I can manage a classroom. Like, those are feelings I already had before I came to a classroom where I didn't know the language of the students. So now I'm trying to manage a classroom. Wow. Why would you do that? Now I'm trying to manage a classroom while not being able to speak the same language as the students. So that's interesting. Anyway, so I got through the class and I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. But that wasn't even my tough class for the day. So I was like mentally, I was like, ugh, I wasn't supposed to start my day like that. I'm supposed to have a nice, cool conversation with these kids. We practice their English. We do the little role play thing. I wasn't mentally prepared to do a whole presentation for that class, because while they're cool with me one-on-one, I knew as a bunch, I know how they are when they're with me one-on-one. They're rowdy kids, but they talk, and so therefore we are accomplishing the goal. But to have to keep them, to manage them in a whole class setting, I wasn't mentally prepared for that. I was upset. Then I go to the computer lab and I'm mentally getting myself prepared for the next class. I'm getting my pictures together for the next class, the class that I'm like, oh, this is my tough class for the day. And then this teacher, who's very nice, no, nice is not the word. I feel like she has very good intentions. She wants us to learn Spanish. One day she was talking to me. She's like, so when are you going to speak Spanish? You always speak in English. And I'm like, we don't talk every day. How you know I'm always speaking English? How you gonna tell me what I'm doing? Huh? Anyway, I was like, okay, I'm gonna try. So I've been pushing myself a little bit more. Anyway, so then she has been that. She said that a month or two ago, and now she's been coming around more, or and talking, practicing to speak with us in Spanish. And so today I'm sitting on the computer minding my own business, and she comes over and she's asking me a question, but she's asking me in Spanish. And the question is, because I'm supposed to present in her class, right? It was just that I was decompressing from that last class. I was decompressing from not being able to manage the class. I was decompressing from not feeling like I should have been more prepared for that. I was decompressing from like not knowing the language. And I'm like, okay, I can get it. And then she comes over and she's like here, like trying to force me to learn the language. It felt like I was being kicked while I was down. Like someone, not even kicked, because I feel like that's extreme. I feel like she was pressing her foot on a wound that just had been injured. And I'm like, get off. So she was like trying to speak to me in Spanish. And I'm looking at her like, my mind is racing. All these thoughts are going into my mind, and I'm trying to slow them down so I can hear I can't even hear, like literally, I'm not hearing what she's saying to even try to dissect what she's saying. So I'm staring at her, I'm trying to look and dissect what she's saying first so I can hear what she's saying, trying to hear what she's saying so I can dissect what she's saying, and then try to form a response and then remove the attitude from my response. So I'm trying to do all of this in like, the proper time that happens between someone saying something and you responding. But at the same time, like, I don't know how to say it back. But she's like challenging me. And I'm like, okay. And so all that goes out the window. And I'm like, I started just like that. I was about to say, I don't know. But I didn't. I just, I don't know. Then I was like, I can't. Like, I don't know what you want from me right now. She keeps trying a bit, and I'm just kind of like, and then she just asks me the question in English, and I respond in English. I try to respond in Spanish. Like, I start to think, but when I am being challenged like that, like put on the spot like that, my mind freezes. In the sense, knowledge that I could have, like, K means what? Words like that will go to my mind because I'm being challenged. So I'm like, when I'm being put on the spot like that, it's not helpful. Like, I don't like what I would have known, the basics of what I would have known are gone. And I'm like, which frustrates them more because they're like, you can do it. And I'm like, please get out of my face. So anyway, I got through that. Although in that interchange, like I was holding so much in myself. So her like coming to talk to me, anybody talking to me in that moment, I would have had to put forth effort not to explode or like let out my emotions. But especially when I was like being challenged to speak in Spanish, like I said, pressing down in the womb, and I'm like, so I started to anyway, she could tell I was frustrated. Oh, that was the one thing I got out in Spanish. I said, no feliz, which is like, feliz is happy. And I was like, no feliz. So yeah, I got that out. Yeah. She offered to like get me some coffee, which was sweet, but I wanted to take it so bad, but I had to like, I had to get ready for the next class. Sorry, got distracted. Anyway, so I go to the next class, and I already told you how it was. I did the like slideshow picture book. It worked. They know who William Wallace is. They know who King Edward I is. They know what Scotland looks like. They knew my slides. They got it. So I was very happy about that. That made me very happy. Then the rest of the day was pretty good. I only had one other class, and I love that class. And we were talking. That was a class that we're reading the Wizard of Oz in. And yeah. So like, yeah, this whole learning Spanish thing it's a challenge, because like I went to play basketball like about a week ago, and like I'm a competitive person, so I'm playing, and then like they're saying stuff, and I'm like, man, this is not fair, I don't even know what you're saying. And then they're like, learn Spanish, and I'm like, and then later at the end of the game, this boy had like been like joking with me, like, and I'm like saying stuff, and I'm like, yeah. Anyway, at the end of the game, I realized he spoke some English, and I was like, man, I wish I knew Spanish so I could say it. And then they're like, someone again is like, learn Spanish, and I'm like, why are y'all stating the obvious? Why? And then I'm like, I'm trying to learn. And they're like, you're not trying to learn hard enough. What? Where do you people come from with this? I don't understand. So, again, that I was like literally on the edge with that already. So I was like, what is learning harder? What's trying harder? Like, and so the person who said it, they weren't like, I know in both of these situations, the teacher who's like, what did I tell you? She said, when are you gonna start speaking Spanish? You always speak English, or you're not trying hard enough. These are very triggering things for me. Maybe not other people, but you never. These are triggering things for anyone. So just a PSA, guys, before you make statements like that, think about what you're saying. Can you actually say that person always does that? Can you actually say that person never does that? Now, it is my responsibility to be in charge of my own feelings. I cannot explode and go off, even though I've been triggered or whatever. So that's my responsibility. That's the responsibility of whoever you're talking to, too. But just a PSA, like, these are words that do trigger people, and that we can really ask ourselves, do we have the right, or do we have do we know enough about this person to be able to accurately make these statements? And then for the you're not trying hard enough, wow, I don't know that should be in our dictionary. Like, you don't know how hard someone's trying. It doesn't seem like you're trying hard enough. Could you do this? Or have you tried this? These are things that I feel like you say, you're not trying hard enough, to someone who tries so hard for so many things. It's just not what I want to hear. But like I said, I know she didn't mean to, she didn't mean to piss me off. She didn't so then when I got buck and was like, what's trying harder? She was just like, and she was like, well, I know so-and-so, when she was learning, she was always around Spanish people all the time. I'm like, okay. So in that instance, I decided to humble myself and be like, okay, maybe I could try harder. And if there is any truth to that, not trying hard enough, to just accept that. Okay, and you can try harder. Because honestly, if it's not true, it's not true. And if it's not true, it doesn't have to bother me. And if it's true, then okay, cool. You weren't trying hard enough. You don't have to beat yourself up about that. Try harder. If that is true, do more, whatever, do what you have to do to make yourself feel comfortable. And that's for me. I don't have to try hard enough for anybody else's, to meet anybody's standards. If I feel like I'm trying, then I'm good. But I don't know how I felt. I guess I didn't feel like I was accomplishing. I do feel like I was trying. And then there was someone there who was like, I think she's trying. She's improving. So I appreciate that. So yeah, that is the update. I feel pretty good today. I would say it was a pretty good day. Just high off the fact that I found a way to get to that class that I'm trying to get to. The other class, I don't have to teach them as a group all the time. I'll do one-on-one things. But the class I've been telling y'all about, guys, we're on the same level. And I pray to do it again next week. Oh, and then I had them draw. Where did I put? Oh my God. Okay, I'm trying to remember if I had that sheet. Anyway, so after I had them, I told the story with them. I was like, okay, now I want you to draw William fighting Edward in this battle. And I swear God just talks to me. Maybe not even talking, just dropping ideas in my head. Because that just came out of nowhere. I was like, dang, I'm out of the slides. What can I do to fill the rest of this time? I was like, draw the story, guys. They drew it. They did it. Some of them really can draw, and they made pretty pictures. And one of them said, I love you, Tori. And I was just like, thank you. So yeah, that is my update for today. Thank you for those who watched through. I apologize for any dips in sound or confusion in the pausing and going, but thank you. All right, bye guys.